Hey, everybody. Wanted to take a few minutes to talk about resistance, which, if any of you have read Stephen Pressfield's great book, The War of Art, this is probably familiar with you. If you've ever read The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron calls it your censor. And resistance is something that comes up a lot in our lives. It's both internal and it's also external. And I'm thinking about this because I had an experience yesterday in the Arena men's group where one of the men actually transitioned out of the group. This is something that happens pretty regularly in our group. You know, once, twice a year, someone decides to step out. So maybe not that regular, but it happens often enough. And one of the things we talk about in the arena is the importance of leaving relationships honorably. And I think that's something I'll talk about in another video. But anyway, as this gentleman was leaving our group, and he'd been in the group for about 2 years, he was sharing that some of my coaching didn't land on him. And it didn't land on him because I was younger than he was and younger than some of his children. And listen, it's okay that my coaching didn't land on him. My coaching isn't for everybody, just like anybody's coaching isn't for anyone. And I'm a very firm believer that we hear things different from different people for a variety of reasons, including age, right? Including that I don't always trust people of a certain age, whether that's older or younger, for a variety of reasons. Now, the reason I'm talking about this isn't because he said I was young and therefore my coaching wasn't valid, but rather because I know for myself over the years as I've worked with people, whenever I've been resistant to someone's coaching, I've found some reason to discount it. And I oftentimes think about this experience I had in the summer of 2019 when I went to a men's group gathering. There were about five or six, seven different men's groups, and I was a member of the Dudes of Disruption at that point. And Nick couldn't be there. Nick, who's my co-facilitator, co-founder of the arena, he couldn't be there, asked me if I would lead the dudes session, the dudes demo to that group. Well, I did, and I didn't get to experience the other groups, but I did get to experience one of the other groups. And I actually learned one of my favorite exercises in that group. This gentleman, I can't remember which group he was from, he led this exercise called If You Really Knew Me, where you stood in a circle with five other guys, and each person said, If you really knew me, you'd know. And you said one thing and moved around, and we did 3 rounds. Each round got progressively deeper and more vulnerable. And in the last round, I shared that if you really knew me, you'd know that I was having uncertainty about the intimate relationship I was in at the time. And that was a big deal for me to acknowledge. And the guy who was facilitating that, after we had wrapped, he was giving a little bit of coaching to everybody. And he said to me, dude, you really need to figure that out. And I remember at the time being so incredibly resistant. I thought he didn't establish trust and safety. He doesn't know me. He was just being an asshole. All of it, which was code for this dude really hit on something that was so important that I was unwilling to recognize and talk about. And so I oftentimes relate to resistance now, whether it's the coaching's not landing on me or I'm being incredibly resistant to this person and what they're saying, as an opportunity to really look at why am I refusing to sit with what's being offered? Because for me, resistance is a code or a cue that there's something really juicy there that I might be unwilling to sit with. Rewind back to 2019. I was actually on a call with Nick right after that session, complaining about how this guy was insensitive to me. And 3 months later, I ended up breaking up with the girlfriend I was with at the time because the truth was that I did need to figure out what I needed to do and what I wanted in that relationship. And what I wanted was to end the relationship. And it would not have necessarily happened in that same timeliness, in that same way, had I not had that experience with this facilitator that I had a lot of resistance to. And so this episode last night in the arena brought that up for me. And I don't know, perhaps my coaching really just didn't land, but I certainly believe that whenever there's resistance, there's something there that's worth looking at. So if this is in your life, whether it's in a particular relationship, whether it's with a manager at work, whether it's a direct report at work, whether it's in an intimate relationship, romantically, a friendship, whether it's working with a coach or facilitator or a therapist, if you're experiencing resistance, my invitation is go look at it and maybe be less quick to shove it to the side and more curious to ask the question, why am I so resistant to what this person is saying? So thanks for tuning in. I'll definitely do another video on leaving honorably at some point in the future. It's one of my favorite topics. One of the things I believe that as human beings, especially in the United States, but I think everywhere in the world, we're really bad at leaving and saying goodbye and leaving honorably. So I think it's a great topic. But for now, really sit with resistance. Be willing to explore it. All right. Catch you next time.